with the call for order Town Plan and Zoning Commission March 27th meeting. Can you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Play ball.
Have the secretary read the roll. Here.
Commissioner Canella,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey, Commissioner Cox,
Here.
Commissioner Kane, Commissioner Sobieski, Commissioner Woods, Commissioner DeCallica, Commissioner Braverman,
Here.
Commissioner Giangre.
We'll have Commissioner Braverman sit in for Commissioner Woods. Mr. Planner, approval of the agenda.
I have one item to change. Again, the engineer from O'Reilly Auto Parts would like to come to you at your next meeting. There's things in play regarding the sewer proposal, so he'll come to your next meeting and tell you how that's working out. So delete item old business, item A.
Okay. Any questions on the change? All in favor of the change?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, so the agenda's amended. Next item, public participation. Anyone from the public wishing to speak at this time, come forward, state your name and address for the record. Anybody? Remarks by commissioners. Any remarks at this time? Anything to bring up? Okay. Next item is public hearings. Do you have the? I do. Okay. We'll have the Vice Chairman read the procedure for the public hearings, and we'll start with we have several, so we'll get into that.
Procedures for a public hearing. The order of proceedings at a public hearing shall be as follows. A, convening by a chairman. B, reading the notice by the commission secretary or a commissioner designated by the chairman to act in his stead. C, identification and location of the property involved by the town planner. D, a statement of the issue to be considered by the chairman or the town planner. E, presentation by the applicant limited to 20 minutes unless a specific extension is granted by the chair. F, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application limited to 2 minutes per person. G, persons wishing to speak in opposition of the application limited to 3 minutes per person. H, rebuttal by the applicant limited to 5 minutes total. I, rebuttal by the opposition limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairman whether the time limitation shall be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance. In no case shall an extension be for more than 20% of the allotment indicated above, or 1 minute, whichever is greater.
Please read petition 0319, our text amendment.
Petition 03-19, zoning text amendment, section 3.11, section 3.16, and section 6.11. Motor vehicle services, motor vehicle service uses, Town Plan and Zoning Commission applicant, continued from March 13, 2019.
Mr. Planner, you have something to report on, some questions.
Okay, well, two items I want to bring to the commission's attention. We received a letter by email earlier this week from Attorney Hollister, and I won't read the letter, but basically his concern is that some of the commissioners have been discussing adopting the regulation, but with a change. The regulation as posted would require a 100-foot buffer between residential zones and new auto-related businesses, and would prohibit roll-up doors facing the street. But during the discussion, some of the commissioners expressed a preference for only having a 50-foot buffer and allowing roll-up doors. Attorney Hollister's letter points out that because the amendment as posted talks about a 100-foot buffer and no roll-up doors, if the commission were to end up adopting something different, in his opinion, that would be a procedural error because the amendment as published didn't talk about those things. So I discussed it with the town attorney, and the bottom line is the town attorney feels that if the commission does end up adopting the regulation, but with only a 50-foot buffer or allowing roll-up doors, that would probably be appealable, and therefore you should have another public hearing on that. So what I'm going to suggest we do is when we get to the end of the public hearing, when the commission feels that we're ready to close the hearing, but then during the discussion, if it looks like there's a consensus that a majority of the commissioners would prefer to have just the 50-foot buffer, to have a new public hearing on an amendment with just a 50-foot buffer, have that hearing, open and close it, and then the commission could then decide which one it wants to go with. But under that scenario, nobody could claim that they didn't have sufficient notice to come and speak and ask questions about either of those two proposals. So we'll come back to that when it's time to close the hearing. The other thing I wanted to bring to the commission's attention, at the last meeting, I was asked to have our GIS department put together maps showing what the impact would be if the regulation required a 100-foot buffer or only a 50-foot buffer. And I think what I'll try to do is display those two maps on the screen here so that the audience can see those two maps. Well, I'm going to try to. Well, I think I'm not going to try to get the whole map on the screen because the town of Newington is long and skinny, but this shows you the parcels in town that would be, the crosshatched parcels are commercially zoned lots that, if not for the buffer, would be able to have an auto-related use. But with a 100-foot setback, all these crosshatched parcels would not be eligible to establish a new auto business. Whereas if the commission adopted just the 50-foot buffer, then more parcels would be available for use as auto-related use. So I'll just try to toggle back and forth so you can see. Okay, 100-foot buffer, more parcels would not be available for auto business. 50-foot buffer, more properties would be available for auto-related use. And this was the concern that some of the commissioners brought up, was that if we adopt the more stringent buffer, there'd be less land in Newington that could be used for an auto-related business. All right. So, and the commissioners have those maps in their packet, and these maps are available if anybody from the public would like a copy. I could certainly email this to them. So those are the two things that I wanted to bring to the commission's attention.
It looks like to me that there's not much of a change between the 50 and 100 foot as far as properties that are being affected. Very minimal. Could you
It's
concur?
subjective.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, whether it's a lot or a little is relative.
Yeah.
Could you explain the crosshatches where the blue and the green, what is, it says parcels 100 feet of residential zone. Explain that versus the 50-foot blue
Yep.
one.
Yeah, right. Okay.
What does that mean?
Yes. All right. This is the map that shows the impact if the commission were to adopt a 100-foot buffer. And so every parcel that's yellow is in a business zone that, if it weren't for a buffer setback rule, a auto business could open up.
Uh-huh.
The crosshatching shows lots that are within 100 feet of a residential zone. So there are some parcels, like these on Milk Lane, where my little hand thing is. These parcels are more than 100 feet from a residential zone. So if the commission adopted the 100-foot buffer requirement, these lots could still be developed for an auto-related business. But if you adopted only a 50-foot setback, then more properties would be eligible.
In the yellow.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, I'll try to toggle back and forth. Fewer parcels available, more parcels available. It's more dramatic on the Berlin Turnpike, is the south
Yeah.
end of Berlin Turnpike. But
Okay.
this is the Fenn Road is a good demonstration of how the greater buffer would reduce the number of lots that could be used for an auto business in Newington.
Any
Thank you.
comments from the commission on that? Anyone do have a preference as to the 50 to 100 feet, or any explanation of why they would consider one or over the other? I could just tell you that most of, in the regulation, most of the talk of all the regulation in the plan of development is protection of the residential zones. Particularly the plan of development talks about protecting the residential zones and buffering. We've talked in the past, I brought up that we have in our regulations that from a speaker for a drive-through restaurant is a 300-foot distance requirement to a residence zone. And then we're looking to cut this down to 50 feet from 100. My preference would be to increase it more than 100, but I don't think I have the commission is willing to go that far. But I think at 50 feet is too close. I mean, all the problems we've had with automotive uses have begun because of the distance requirements. And 50 feet is kind of close. So it's up to the commission to decide whether we want to go to 50 or 100 feet.
But I would suggest don't make that decision now, because the public hearing is still open.
Yeah.
There may be more input from the public that might inform your opinion on that issue.
Okay. Any other?
That's all that I have.
Okay. Any questions on this from the commission? Okay, how do you want to, how should we
Well,
proceed?
open the public hearing, or
Okay.
resume the public
No
hearing.
other questions on the regulation from the commissioners? Okay, we'll open it up to the public again, and we'll be leaving this open. Yeah. People wishing to speak in favor of the application, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Anyone?
Good evening, Commission members. Amy Suchins, for the record, representing Guggenheim Retail Real Estate Partners. As you know, I just wanted to speak to the letter that Attorney Hollister, I guess, submitted yesterday afternoon about the revisions that I suggested to the, excuse me, revisions I suggested to the regulations. I did make those two comments, but I think what he overlooks in his letter is that during his comments, he also included a proposed change to the regulations that would further expand the properties that would be covered by the bay door restriction. Clearly, what he has telegraphed in his letter, in my opinion, is that they are willing to appeal, he or his clients are willing to appeal whatever this commission's decision might be. And so my position, and I think it's consistent with the advice you will likely get from your town attorney, would be to make a decision about how you want the final regulation to be worded and incorporate whatever that decision is into a new application and a new hearing that can proceed on its merits. So I just wanted to add that.
That's the way we're going to proceed anyway.
Right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this application? Okay, seeing none, we'll leave this open till the next meeting.
Okay.
read the next application.
Petition 07-19, special permit, section 3.2.1, churches and places of worship at 6 Church Street, Vaishnav Parivar of Connecticut, owner applicant Raji Desai, 712 France Street, Rocky Hill, contact.
Is the applicant here? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record, and make a presentation.
Yeah, hi, I'm Rajiv Desai. Good evening to everybody.
We explained to the commission what you're
Yeah, so we would like
what you're trying
to
to do.
change the usage of 6 Church Street house right now, and 26 Church Street is a religious place that we have our Hindu temple. So we would like to use that house for our priest and his family.
You want to use the house strictly as a residential?
Yeah, strictly as a residential.
Okay. The property at this time is pretty blighted and just needs repair. And there's stuff out there that,
We are planning to repair it, and
okay.
because we have bought this property from the foreclosure, so it was in really bad shape. So
Yeah.
we are converting into the priest resident for his family and the priest.
Okay. Is that the only use that you're looking to?
Yeah, that's the only use we would like to do.
Okay, so you're going to keep it strictly as a residence
Yeah.
for the priests or the religious people that are coming into
Yeah.
town to stay?
Strictly for his
Okay,
priest
there's
and
not
his
going to be
family.
any meetings, or you don't have parking there for meetings and stuff like that, so if you,
No,
okay,
it's strictly for the residential purpose, for the priest.
okay. Any questions from the commissioners on this piece of property? You now know which one it is. It's the corner of Church and New Britain Avenue. It's the blue house. It's been under, it was foreclosed, and it's in pretty tough shape as far as it's run down, and there's a lot of garbage out in front and on the side. It needs some repair.
Mr.
Commissioner?
Chairman, I have one question. Will you fence around the existing house, the other house that's there now, to give them privacy?
Yeah, we will definitely do the fencing if it is
And-
required.
Are you going to remove the fence in the back to allow the priest to go from there into the parking lot and over to your
Yes, we
church?
can. Yes, and we can
And-
also do the entrance from 26 Church Street instead of from the main road.
Okay. And this will only be for his residents, not to hold religious classes or anything like
No,
that, am I
it's
correct?
strictly for the residents, for the priest and his family.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's he'll be living there full-time?
Yeah, he will be leave full time. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions from the commissioners at this time? You have anything else, Commissioner Sobieski?
One more thing. You will not sublet this if he was to go and be relocated. You will not sublet this for a rental property, will you?
No, no, no. It is
Thank-
strictly for, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Fox?
No, I'm just a little concerned. I know you say, through the chairman, I know, sir, you have mentioned that's supposed to be, that it will be used for residential purposes only, for the priest to, to live there.
Yeah.
There would be no temple-related activities even during the daylight hours?
No, there is no. It is strictly
Okay.
the residential.
Yeah, because on your text here, letter to Mr. Minor, asking for the special permit, you did mention something about religious uses. So, but that's,
No, it's
Okay.
strictly for the, yeah, because we have a big property over there, so.
Yeah.
Any
Yeah.
meetings or anything we would love to do
yes,
at our
yeah,
temple.
I know the property. And,
That was a concern of mine, was that you have such a big property at 26. Why would you need to have an additional spot for any other things during the day? To expand that use onto the residential piece of property didn't make sense to us.
Mm.
But as far as, if it is a residence, it stays a residence.
Would you
Yep.
need a special permit for that then?
No, I don't think so.
Not if it's a residence.
Well, it's good that he's here, because we got a clarification from what he asked for in the beginning and what he's saying now.
Right.
So the record will reflect that this is going to stay as a residential piece of property,
Yeah.
strictly for the use of the priests. Yes.
Okay, once again, through the chairman, Commissioner Sobieski asked about what would happen if, let's say, your priest went somewhere else. You'd have an empty residence, but, you already mentioned, and, we would expect that you would not be renting it out. If you lose the priest, you're going to get another priest, would he be immediately, eligible to use that house as his residence?
Yes.
Or required to use it by your laws and rules?
Yeah, because anytime we are employing a priest, it is our responsibility to provide the housing.
Okay, thank you.
And our priests are coming from India, so most of the time, they don't have any kind of
Any
residence.
place to go?
process. Yeah.
Okay,
So most of our priests come from India,
Yeah.
and we provide housing to them.
all right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Anything else you want to add?
That's pretty much.
Okay. We'll open it up to the public for public comments.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Planner, there's a letter.
Yeah, she might be here tonight, so let's wait to see if she's here, and then she'll read it to you also.
Okay. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application? No. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Is this the letter, you sent a letter to the town?
Yes,
Okay, you want to address the letter as part of your,
yes, please. Okay. My name is Deborah Brodacki Magnin from 10 Church Street. Oh, I'm sorry.
you are the property that is,
Yeah. Ma'am, could you speak up or lean into the
Oh,
mic a little bit?
oh.
Thanks.
Sorry.
Bring the mic like.
your property is the property between the 20, with the temple and this piece. You're at
Yes,
number
sir.
10 Church Street?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I apologize for such a lengthy letter, but I have numerous questions and numerous concerns. I don't know if it's possible for the letter to be read.
Yeah, I'm going to allow you,
Copy to Mr. Desai.
Oh, yes, please.
I'm going to allow you to read it into the record.
Okay. Oh, oops, sorry. Oh, thank you, sir.
I want it backed up.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you. Okay. In our opinion, the petition should not be on the table due to the history of noncompliance by the temple for years. At the last zoning meeting pertaining to the temple was directed by the town that the spotlights must be turned down or aimed down on their property and not onto adjacent properties due to town ordinances. We still can't sleep on the south-facing bedrooms as a result of the spotlights shining in and through our home, the pedestrian traffic and traffic noise at large events or even at regular weekly activities. We moved a bedroom to the north side of the house, which is bordered by number 6 due to this. Additionally, they have added hundreds, possibly thousands of permanently attached holiday lights to 2 sides of the building. We don't know if there was a permit. We do understand due to religious beliefs and holidays, this is similar to our Christmas. Christmas lights typically last a few weeks, but these lights were on for about 3 months. As a result, for months, we not only have spotlights that have a large amount of additional lighting, which can be seen as far as Maple Hill Avenue with the amplified lumens. This is all on top of the building painted a bright yellow, red, and blue. It is bright on its own, even without the added lights. It glows. I know in the 70s there was an issue with a home on Main Street being painted black and not conforming to the neighborhood, and then again, a home near the quarry being painted several bright colors in the 1980s. This seems to be a similar issue of not fitting and blending into the area. If we remember right, these were both made to alter these. Secondly, the temple was instructed by the town to install a fence to help with light pollution, pedestrian, and noise traffic. This was sort of complied quickly by putting up a plastic orange highway fencing that's lined with holes, but nothing else was done. This does serve as a line of demarcation to prevent trespass and stop people from ducking behind our shrubs for cover to urinate when the restroom lines were too long during festivals and stopped trash blowing in, but it does nothing more for the light and noise pollution. So it did do some help. This fence is now starting to sag in many sections and is becoming an eyesore. As a result, we still have lights, hear slamming doors, car alarms, and pedestrian noise on two sides of our home. So if this petition is allowed, we will now have the same issues on three sides of our home and will not be able to sleep anywhere in our home. Another concern is construction. What if it's decided to double or triple the footprint of this house, or worse yet, knock it down and build a large building nearing the size of the temple itself? The last construction project lasted well over a year. We put up with construction noise, debris, dust blowing in our yard, as well as a view of several large dumpsters around the building. Number 6 Church Street property is even closer, about 30 feet to the house, so it would even be a bigger issue this time. With the house being about 30 feet away, our biggest concern at some point is wanting to turn the yard into parking, be it paved or unpaved. They currently do this in the front and side lawns of the temple when they run out of parking spaces during large events. In fact, a few months ago, cars sank into the mud up to the axles and had to have a few tow trucks come in to pull the cars out. The parking expansion would involve potentially sidewalk or driveway within feet of our house to the main entrance of number 6. This would move traffic and car light, etc., and pedestrian noise very close to our house, as well as losing our privacy. They would literally be able to see in our windows. We shouldn't be expected to live in a cocoon behind heavy window shades on all sides. If driveways or sidewalks are put in, this would result in sidewalk lights, spot, and security lights, meaning our home would be bathed in light on the third side, creating even more light and noise pollution. Due to the proven non-compliance of the past issues, why would he expect the third side to be any different? We have a huge concern with parking expansion as its runoff of automotive fluids leaking into the water table. Our home is supplied by a wonderful old established natural well. We are worried that these fluids leaking into it could contaminate the well water, as well as soil pollution for our fruit trees and gardens. We depend on our garden for preserving organic foods that we eat in the winter. We have a great well, and we don't want to have to pay $10,000 to $20,000 to connect to city water with not only the cost, but the quality change from our current supply. Who would you think would have to pay for the cost of any soil abatement? If anyone is familiar with Church and New Britain Avenue intersection, you know it's an extremely busy intersection. It also includes a crosswalk and a bus stop. This driveway is at the right-hand turn only lane. Many times cars, be it cars, trucks, or buses, go quickly to beat the light, not stopping at the red light. If driveways or cars are cutting across the lawn, it's a sure recipe for disaster by adding travel and foot traffic. In closing, let's talk property value. Would anyone here want to buy a house enclosed on three sides by any entity, being it private, public, or secular, with known issues of safety, light, noise, and chemical safety? Our property values will tank. We've headed closer to retirement age. We're not looking to move, but if we have to, why would we want to have to incur the cost or trouble of relocation to find a similar home and yard. We'd be losing thousands in depreciation value of the home. We would not be able to purchase anything comparable. This has been my family home since 1963 with many family memories that you can't put a price on. We are tax-paying residents like everyone else in town, and we're hoping our town will protect and respect us in our older ages approaching. We shouldn't have to worry about quality of life, security, and property value. The temple has demonstrated previously the lack of concern for the entire neighborhood. This is a neighborhood where people live. Number 6 Church Street has been a home to 3 wonderful families and neighbors over the years, and we would like it to continue. And then I made bullet points with basically my questions. If we do have issues, who do we turn to? What's the plan for this home at 6 Church Street? We had an understanding the home would be used as a lease for a year or so per family as they came to the area while they get established. Then a different family in the same situation would repeat. It doesn't sound like it's the current plan. Will the plans be followed in its entirety? What is the recourse if it's not? What are the hours of the house is in use? Who will be there? Are just basic things like landscaping, painting, window and gutter repair being done, or are larger construction projects? Is there any issues? If there's issues at night or weekends, who do we turn to? In the past, we've had professional soundstage trailers and tents brought into the parking area. Will we now have them next door? What about the bonfires and fireworks? I didn't add in, I do understand that's part of the religion, though. But
the whole backyard is full of pine needles.
Okay.
They start setting off fireworks and have bonfires.
It could be a fire
Pine
hazard.
needles could cause a major fire.
Okay. After the purchase, there was a loud drum procession of people from the temple entrance down to number 6 Church Street. Is this going to continue? I apologize for being so lengthy, but we felt it important to give a good amount of background details. Respectfully, the Brodecki Magnans, 10 Church Street. And again, I apologize for being so long. We just had many, many questions.
There's so many issues we have had over so many years, and the temple has said, we'll comply, we'll comply, we'll comply.
And
We'll work with you, we'll work with you, we'll work with you. But they just continue to do what they do as to see fit. They have clearly demonstrated over many years they don't care about the neighborhood. They don't care about their neighbors. I've reached out to Raj saying, what can we do about this? They just want to do what they want to be able to do. What's going to happen if they decide to knock that house down and build another building the size of the temple? Would anyone here want to buy a house surrounded by the temple on all 3 sides, dealing with the noise, the confusion, the light pollution, anything?
That's not what they're here asking for. They're not here asking to knock down the building. They're asking.
But we are left in the dark.
They're asking, but we can't
dark.
conjecture as to if they did this or if they're not. They haven't done that. They came here and asking that this house be used as a residence. We've questioned them as to if they're going to use it as part of the temple and have classes or any. They're saying no. So we have to take them for their word that they're going to. And we will enforce that this is a residence and it would stay that way.
That'd
And if
be
there's
fine.
any changes or anything other than that, then they'd be in non-compliance and we'd take action to stop it.
That would be fine.
That would
We
be-
would welcome new neighbors.
yes, as neighbors.
Well, that's what they're saying. They're saying that their priest would be,
Hold on.
their
Is-
priest would be the resident of that particular house.
That would be fine.
May
But
I-
we were worried that they were going to expand the site.
No, that's not what they're here for, and they don't have permission to do that. They're asking that
I
this
will
stay
help
as
Mohan move
as
in.
perfectly between me and you. They don't even have to be here if they're gonna keep it as a resident house. I mean, it's good that they're here, that we air all of these concerns and everything, and we clarified exactly what the use is gonna be for that house. It's not gonna be used for any other purposes as part of the temple. It's gonna be
Okay.
strictly residential, and that's what they're gonna have to be adhered to.
Okay. May I?
Yes.
Is it, I
Go ahead.
don't know if it's okay to just ask a question directly? Is that?
You get asked through me.
Okay. Is it Mohan? Is the priest Mohan? Would he be the person there?
Okay. Would ask him.
Is it I believe he said his name is Mohan.
Yeah.
And we chat over the fence as it is. He enjoys gardening just like I do.
Yeah.
So is he going to be the one living there?
Yeah, he is.
Okay, that makes me feel much more comfortable. We have a nice, honey, I have a nice, Mohan and I have a very nice rapport with each other. We talk over the fence. His English has gotten much better, so we can actually have conversations without him bringing other people over to help us chat gardening. So I feel much more
Okay, well, that's good.
comfortable with that.
Okay, we're gonna open it up for
Okay,
other
thank
people
you.
at this point.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak in opposition to this application? I hope that we answered your concerns and your questions. And trust me, this commission will be watching and making sure that this property is strictly for residential.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
And again, I'm sorry it was so lengthy. I apologize.
No problem. Thank you. Mr. Planner. Hold it off till the next meeting.
Well, okay, I think if the commission wants to close the hearing tonight, you can, but I would say you give me then a couple of weeks to put together the motion to approve or for your next meeting's action. But you can close the hearing tonight, I
Yeah,
think.
I want to, can we get a motion to close the hearing and move it to old business for next?
Make a motion to close the hearing.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, we're going to pull it over to the next meeting. We'll have him make a motion to approve it, and we'll act on it at the next meeting. And we're glad that you came and you clarified what the use is going to be, and you've made the neighbor who has the most skin in the game comfortable with what you're doing. So thank you very much for coming. Okay, that was good that they came and clarified. You want to read the next application?
Petition 09-19, special permit, section 3.2.8, group daycare homes and child care centers and adult daycare centers at 395 Willard Avenue. Colchester Properties LLC, applicant 395 Willard Ave, or Willard LLC, owner Eric Spungen, 56 East Main Street, Avon, Connecticut, contact.
Mr. Planner. They are also under new business partition B0819 for site plan modification. Can he bring both of these together at this point?
Certainly.
So he doesn't have to stay until the end for the next person. You want to make a presentation that includes the new business, the site plan modification?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, staff. For the record, my name is Alan Bongiovanni. I'm a licensed land surveyor in the state of Connecticut with an office at 170 Payne Road. I'm representing Colchester Properties LLC in this application for you for a special permit on a property known as 395 Willard Avenue. The special permit is to allow a children's daycare facility on this property. To provide the commission with a little history, it's a 2-acre parcel. It was part of the former frontage of the Fafner Bearing Plant. It's immediately adjacent to the Fountain Point complex. This was approved in 2008 as an adult daycare. We have a special permit for this property, but it's for adults as opposed to children. in 2017, and that project, as we know, never came to fruition. In 2017, the site was reapproved as a medical office building. Craig, if I could, there's a drawing called the Old Site, I think.
Which of these?
One of the,
I don't know, it doesn't. Which one of these do you think it is?
figure 8, the top one,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yep.
This is what's been approved already.
This is a current site plan that is approved and in force at this point.
And this was for an adult daycare.
This was the new one that was done by Figure 8 in 2017. It's about a 10,000 plus square foot medical office building. It was
A medical
it was a
office.
speculative building.
Yeah.
That, again, did not happen. But if you look at the configuration, it gives you a feel for what it is. The next drawing, if I could, Craig, represents our proposal. It's very similar in nature. We're proposing a 10,000 square foot children's daycare facility. The name of the facility or the franchise is the Learning Experience. We believe this is going to be a corporate-owned store. They have over 200 locations throughout the country, several of them here in Connecticut. And they will provide care and learning from infants over a couple months old to toddlers up until, through preschool, up until kindergarten. Craig, if we can go to the next drawing. It's a smaller footprint, it's a little bit smaller. There's less parking required than what was previously approved. The site plan, as you see it, as were the previous site plans, meets and exceeds all of the town's requirements for site plans as far as parking requirements, coverage, green space, landscaping. If you look at the upper portion of the site, we have an area colored in yellow. That was used last week when we went to the Wetlands Commission to have our permit updated for this application to show the area of wetlands in orange, and the yellow is the area that is their regulated area, or 100 foot away. The major change from this application physically from the previous one is along the whole back, we have a driveway instead of double-loaded parking on both sides. It's about a 50% reduction in impervious area within the regulated area. Having said that, we have no changes to the front entrance on Willard Avenue. From the previous applications, there was an island dividing that as a right turn in, right out. That has been reapproved as a full access entry by the Office of State Traffic Administrator over the last couple of years. So there will be a minor change there, but it's nothing of any large significance other than it will allow the patrons of this facility and the Fountain Point facility to have easier access to Willard Avenue. This proposal, as I said, is for a daycare child learning experience. The applicant feels it's a need in this area. They've done their demographics and their studies and feel that we are underserved by this type of facility. Recently, one was approved on Alumni Road, similar in nature to this type of facility. And again, the applicant is very comfortable that the need exists for this utility, facility. The next item in reviewing special permit applications, it talks about the existing and probable future character of the neighborhood. This is the last vacant piece in this area. We have commercial on this side of the street. We have commercial and business uses. We think this fits in very well. It was already approved as an adult daycare. The use is really the same with the exception of the age of the people attending it.
You have elevations?
We do. Craig, if we can go to the next drawing. It's a single-story building with a gambrel roof. It has a brick band on the bottom. It's a hardy plank or clapboard siding. Those are the colors. They do have their own unique columns which portray the interest to the children that are going to be there. They're in the shape of building blocks with numbers and letters. It's kind of their trademark. We think it's a nice feature. It's attractive to the building.
This is similar to the building on Alumni Road, that school at,
It's very similar. There are some unique differences, but it's about the same size.
yeah.
On the Shunpike and Cromwell, there's a facility similar to this with the same detailing in the front. That's been there for probably over 10 years.
Yeah.
The size and scale of this building in relation to the area, it's very similar to what you have right next door on Fountain Point. There's same style roof lines, similar eave heights, and a footprint relatively the same as the neighbors. The traffic circulation on the site, this has been reviewed. It's the same pattern on this proposal as the previous ones. Since the last approval, it also went through the Office of State Traffic Administrator, so we're very comfortable that we meet and exceed any requirements for that purpose. It is serviced by MDC Sewer and Water. One of the features of this site plan is that we did an extensive low-impact development design on the drainage as part of working with the wetlands to the rear of the property. So again, in that aspect, we believe we've covered all our bases as we did in the two previous applications. The signage for the building, it's right there on the plan before you. The front gable has the learning experience sign, and it has their two signature columns on either side. We have shown a footprint for a monument sign, but there's no request at this time to do that. We're not sure that the applicant will actually need that in the future, but if so, we would come back under another application.
Okay. Hang on now.
Site lighting has been designed with the full cutoff type fixtures. It's all LED, energy efficient, so there'd be no glare or intrusion into the neighboring properties. And the last item, safeguards to protect adjacent property and the neighborhood in general from detriment, including but not limited to proper buffering. We've, again, met or exceeded all the town's requirements for planting, landscaping, buffering. There really is no buffer between the buildings on the sides or the rear, but I think we've done a really nice job with mature plantings to really give this a nice appeal.
You've covered the modification, right? Under this next section?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Planner, are there any deficiencies or anything that you see in this?
Well, the concern I had, though, was with parking. On the floor plan that you submitted, the place will be licensed for 153 infants, toddlers, preschoolers, and 28 staff persons, but you're only providing 25 parking spaces for parents and 15 for employees. Are you sure that'll be enough parking?
It is, and again, this company owns over 200 of these facilities. This is their prototype. They have a maximum shift at 15 employees. They start around 6:30 in the morning, they go to about 6:30 in the evening. They have 15 employees, that leaves 25 spaces for drop-off and pickup. That's generally done between 6:30 and 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning. So it's staggered over a large period, and the same thing with the pickup, about 3:30 to 6:30 in the afternoon. So there's never a large influx. There is adequate capacity to add additional parking if that was to be a problem here, but trying to keep with low-impact design and their insistence that they know their business and their business model, that they don't want to put more than they need.
Right, okay.
We don't
Thank you.
either.
Right,
So
certainly. Yep.
if they're comfortable with those projections, and you have the room, if we see that there's a problem in the future, that we will make you comply with more
I
parking.
think the previous application, the office had about 70 spaces.
Yeah, okay. That answer your
Yeah,
question, Mr.
that's all I had. Yep.
Any engineering?
Well, the earlier version, I know the town engineer had comments on, so if this gets approved tonight, it would probably be with the condition that you address those concerns, but that's all that I see.
Anything from the town engineer?
It was back on, well, it was some time ago. It was back in February, I think, actually.
Okay, whatever it is, I'm sure it's technical in nature.
Yeah.
Any questions from the commissioners? Mr. Sobieski?
Alan, one quick question. In the back, I'm looking at this playground area. You're going to have an 8-foot or a 6-foot-high white PVC fence?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to do anything for safety in case somebody comes flying through there? You going to put any bollards in there at all? I'm just asking a question, because I remember we had a daycare facility, and I can't remember where it was, where we wanted to have bollards in there.
That's the one on Alumni.
Yeah.
That wasn't part of the information that was provided to us when we laid the site out. That's something I can definitely relay to the applicant, the operator. If it's something the commission requires, then I know in the front, there are some, because I've worked on a couple of these in other locations, I believe there are some bollards that will go in architecturally to protect the front entrance. We do have trees planted around the outside. Those aren't necessarily as much of
A deterrent.
protection and deterrent, but
I'm just concerned because I see you got a traffic flow coming around. That's all I was concerned with. Somebody has, loses control or something. You have kids playing in that area.
there's a lot of things we do. We can use some architectural, boulders and things like that to mix with the landscaping.
Well, Ballard stuck in my mind because I think we required it at the last daycare I went through. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions from the commissioners? Okay, we'll open,
Oh, go ahead. You can open it to public. Go ahead.
No, I thought the vice chairman wanted to say something.
okay, we'll open it up for, public comment and, see what we get. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. Anyone in opposition? Commissioners, can we close this hearing?
Make a motion to close it, move to old business. We can act on that tonight.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions, any comments on the closing and acting on it? Looks like they've done a nice job in answering all the questions, and we'll make a condition that the engineer has a look at it. Okay, so we're gonna act on it tonight. I'll call, you don't have to stay, but if you want to call Greg tomorrow.
Yeah, could
Okay.
so I can copy them? Yeah, thanks. I'll get back to you later.
You want to read the next one?
Okay. Petition 10-19, special permit, section 3.2.7, charitable, religious, social, and civic events at the municipal parking lot. The Big K Flea Market, Kiwanis Club of Newington, applicant, Town of Newington owner, Daniel Henry, 145th Drive, Newington, Connecticut, contact.
Good evening, Commissioners.
Is this similar to what you've been doing over the last?
It's the same. It's interesting, 5 years ago, we asked for a 3-year permit, and you gave us 5, so we're just asking for 5 this time.
Okay, has anything changed from what you've done in the past?
The only thing that's changed is after some comments from the owners at, or manager at the Rooster Company, we now put a rope up. We've done this now for a year and a half or 2 years, probably 2 years. We put a rope up to prevent the vendors from getting too close to the restaurants. And that leaves open, I don't know, 40 to 60 parking spaces. The vendors sometimes would spread out to the point that they didn't need to, and right up to the end of the public parking, so.
Okay.
But beyond that, we haven't done anything. We've also reduced the number of porta potties to 2 because they weren't in heavy use. They're primarily used by the vendors, and the cost was just very onerous. But there's never a line or anything, so. We have about maybe 500 people we go through there. Most of them are going through in about 20 minutes. A few people are looking at every item, maybe they're longer.
Yeah. Any questions from the commissioners on this? Okay, we'll open it up to the public. This is pretty cut and dry. You were asking for 5 years?
Right,
I just want to know if Bob Backlund's going to be there again this year at all.
Who? Bob Backlund? Yeah, I don't know. Very likely. He usually shows up once a year now.
Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Going to get a motion to close in?
Make a motion to close it.
And placed on tonight's old business.
Okay, we'll move it to old business and act on it on tonight.
All right, good.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll move that one to old business also. You want to read the next one?
Edition 11-19, special permit, section 3.15.3, restaurant outside seating. At 3260 Berlin Turnpike, Plaza Esteca, John Kennelly, applicant, Cleveland, Newington LLC, owner, Manuel Rubio, 3260 Berlin Turnpike, Newington, Connecticut, contact.
Mr. Planner. Can I get a clarification as to why they're coming in under this, and I've had this question before. I don't think we've ever answered it. Why they're coming in under this section of the regulation when they already have outside seating?
Well, they don't really, or they have a little outdoor patio area, but in fact, it's so insignificant that I'm not even sure where it is, and they want to have a lot more for this event, and this is the mechanism, this is the vehicle for them to get permission from the commission to have this event. Well, that's your way of controlling it. I'm sure they would much prefer that it be as a right, but because outdoor seating is only allowed with the permission of the Planning and Zoning Commission, this is the way the town is able to regulate this event.
But isn't there a section in the regulations that regulate events
For nonprofits.
for nonprofits?
Right.
Then, okay. Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through the chairman, in the past, especially last year, it was brought up, I think, by Commissioner Payne that, I don't know, was it this one, that the applicant had applied under the wrong regulation?
But that's what I'm questioning. And
Yeah,
the planner's
so,
saying
and-
that that's the only mechanism
Yeah.
we have for them to come under, because the only other thing is, in the regulations, is events like this is for nonprofits or for people that would have an event and donate the money to charity. I believe that's the language in the regulation.
Yeah, so,
This does not fall under that, because this is
Yeah,
not.
that's what I mean.
This
So-
is a
so-
for-profit operation.
so a for-profit business organization such as this would not have,
There's really nothing in the
an outlet for-
regulations that
yeah.
covers it specifically, so
Mm-hmm.
we put it into this,
Right. Yeah. This is where it falls in our regulations.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, any other questions from the commissioners before the attorney starts? Okay, go ahead and make it.
To begin, Commissioners, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Town Planner, Clerk, thank you very much, and it is in fact a pleasure to be before you guys again. This time I don't have bronchitis, so therefore I won't need Commissioner Fox to keep feeding me cough drops or
No, that's Mrs.
Commissioner
Sobieski.
Sobieski feeding me cough drops and candy so that I don't, lose control of my coughing fits. So I appreciate your patience last year. I'm here again. You're familiar with this event. I do agree, and I recall the actual discussion we had regarding this regulation. When was it on point as to our application? And we had kind of the same back and forth, which was, if you'd like to tell me have a total right to do this and you have no jurisdiction over controlling it, that's fine by me. However, I do think you do. I think that this regulation, in fact, is really there to kind of control these things. It recognizes that institutions or entities may want to, on some occasions, have special events, and this is a way for the city to have control and be able to have input into those special events. So though the language may not seem exactly on point, I am willing to, as I did it last year, say that I understand why the town would want to have some sort of influence and input into how an entity through an event that was bigger and larger than the normal one that anybody usually has. With that being said, just a housekeeping matter. If you could pass this to the clerk, to the town planner. Evidence of our posting of the public notice sign as required by the regulation in a timely fashion. It has been there and is still there at this time. That being said, I'm here again to request your permission to have the outdoor seating at Plaza Azteca Newington. The seating, obviously, as we discussed last year, this institution has a liquor license and a restaurant and a small exterior patio. The purpose of this is to have, you allow us to have an outdoor area for a certain set amount of time. Last year, the regulation was between 12 o'clock in the afternoon and 10 p.m. at night with limitations. There was police and fire regulation of it during the entire event last year. The event was no incidents, as is memorialized in your file. In the police report, and the police chief reported, there were no calls for police, no incidences. In fact, our prepaid fee surety to the police officers, they in fact ended up not using as many officers as they thought. We also did a prepaid $5,000 surety for any potential cleanup. In addition to that surety, we had our own services do cleanup in the area and in the parcels around our area, resulting in no usage of city services for any cleanup, because we did it starting very early the next morning and even actually during the event. I've spoken to the health department, who was there with me at around 12 o'clock, the woman from the regional health district, for the deployment of the porta potties and hand washing stations. She approved them, and in my discussions with her more recently, she only requested that we copy exactly what we did last year because she thought that was appropriate. If you look to a memo from the Fire Marshal Schroeder, dated May 8th, 2018, I believe that's also in your packet. There was an overcrowding issue for an hour and a half between 10 p.m. and around 11:40, so an hour and 45 more, that there was some overcrowding. It was dealt with effectively by security, staff, and fire marshal and police, though I did learn something today. I learned that the security company that I used last year, who I terminated a couple of months ago, I would have fired tonight, because I found out they were pocketing money from a memo I hadn't seen before this evening, that some people on the staff of the security company I hired were witnessed taking an extra $5 and pocketing it to let people in. This helps explain what Fire Marshal Schroeder's observations, or his assistant's observations, that the clickers weren't keeping proper math. That how many people the clicker said should be in the building, when they walked in and counted heads, that the math wasn't working. I thought maybe pretty girls were sneaking by, but as I guess there was a code where you wore a hat and you gave an extra $5. I terminated that company. I think I met with them, and I met with them a number of times with day of deployment. They were nice young men, but I think half of them had a different job, and this was some sort of part-time thing they did. The individuals hired for this year are all full-time security agents that's their position. That's what they do for a living. They don't have a job in construction or a gym or something like that, and they stand at the door. So I've hired real professionals that they are certified and trained and wear badges and all that kind of thing, not just muscle T-shirts. There was that problem that's recognized by Fire Marshal of about an hour and a half, and I would like to apologize to the commission, because I said to this commission that I would be responsible. And I will tell you, I have then at that time 2 7-year-olds, now 2 8-year-olds. I fall asleep early. I'm a person that goes home and goes to bed around 10 o'clock usually at night. I get up very early, 5:30 in the morning. But I did not receive a number of phone calls that were placed to me over about a 18-minute period. I didn't, because I was asleep for the night. I certainly go to bed early on Fridays after working all week. However, I will say had I picked up my cell phone, my recommendation would have been what was done, which was shut it down. Close the doors, don't let anybody else in, tell half of them to leave. And don't let anybody else in, and only let 10 people in when 10 people leave. I would have had the same points and recommendations that were made by the officers and the people on the site if I had picked up the phone. But I do apologize because I told this commission I'd be responsible. I was certainly out there on the site in the morning and in the afternoon, but I did go to bed that night. I don't stay up very late. There was, at this time, I'm going to stop talking for a minute and see if the commission has any questions for me.
Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Fox, then Commissioner Sobieski.
Thank you. Through the chairman, Mr. Kennelly. I'm glad we don't have to give you any more of those licenses.
Thank you very much.
You sound a little better. However, you were talking, and Fire Marshal Dave Woods was saying, you were quote, kind of citing him as saying, that he couldn't get a hold of you. How are you? I believe 5 May is on a Sunday this time. Would you be able to attend,
Yes.
a little more?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to you, Commissioner Fox, I would be in attendance. I can make a commitment right now that I will be on premises between where I saw this problem occur. And that's, I think, would be, the potential problem is from 9 to midnight when it all kind of
Right.
gets shut down.
Mhm.
I would make that personal commitment. I'm probably going to take a nap on Sunday afternoon, I will also tell you guys, but, because I don't stay up till midnight very rarely. But I would be on site if that would be something that the commission feels that it would be proper. And I'd be happy to do that. I think that's appropriate.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have right now.
Commissioner Sobieski.
Attorney Kennelly, that door that you have going out to the state right away, that wasn't there last year.
I'm sorry, my eyes are not that
Well,
great. I'm looking,
according to your sketch here, you have 45 feet from the edge of the Berlin Turnpike
Yep.
to the edge of the roadway to that there. That's all state property.
Yep.
So therefore, I would strongly recommend that that be closed.
That-
You don't want anybody near that highway.
through you, Mr. Chairman, just to, I would like to immediately address this. I don't mean to interrupt you. There is no door there. That's a mistake. I should have noted that. There wasn't last year. There isn't going to be this year. There wasn't the year before that. No one wants ingress or egress onto the Berlin Turnpike. That is absolutely, I can assure you, you can shut it down right now if I was applying to put a door right there.
Second question, generator, where is that going on? State property, or is it going on the inside that yellow line there?
It's kind of badly represented here. I was there for the deployment of this, and I actually worked with the fire marshal on, I actually myself went to Lowe's and purchased the grounding wire and grounding stake that was put in, that was installed right in front of the fire marshal. So I do know about the generator, because it generates, it's for the lights. It is on the property owned by our landlord, Kleban. It is not on state property.
Well, again, according to your plan, it is. That green square over there is a 48
That's
48-inch pad for a generator.
No, that's 48, that's 40 from the, should be, I think 48 feet
That's a
from the,
dimension line.
yeah, from the line, from the road line. The generator is not really.
Doesn't even show. Yeah, it's labeled, but it's not shown.
That's what I'm questioning. I see a generator out there. I see the 42
It's
48-inch,
the
but I'm just questioning as to, I'd like to know where the generator is located.
If I could just tell you, it'll be located, if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go ahead.
This is, it'll be located the same place it was last year, which was here. It was on the outside of the fence line, because I don't want people walking around it, walking near it. It was installed with some deputy fire marshal, and it's, I don't even know if it's 3x4. And then the light goes up, the light thing, and then the power of the DJ. But that is not over in this area at all. It is over,
Okay.
it is past, it is to the east of that fence line. And let me please, again, for the record, say, I can't believe I didn't catch this, but there will be, there never has been, a door there.
Okay, I have one other question. My understanding is that last year you said you were going to have a security post at Target so people wouldn't cross the highway.
Yes.
They were crossing. That's what we were told. My concern is I got a 50-mile-an-hour zone out there with people that are supposed to be driving 50, which aren't. They're exceeding that. But again, you're going to have people crossing that highway, and that needs to be enforced. I wouldn't want to be responsible, and I don't think this commission would want to be responsible saying, okay, without addressing that issue. And that is a major issue, in my opinion.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to you, Commissioner Sobieski, this is something we recognized last year, and something we take even more seriously. I'd be completely comfortable paying an off-duty officer the entire day, between noon and 10 o'clock when the outside thing ends, posting them over there and spending, us taking, doing that in addition to whatever the police want to do in our parking lot and the IHOP and the Lowe's parking lot. We absolutely agree with you. We did post, and because I drove my car across, and we did post. And I have a different security company now. I don't know, honestly, I learned tonight when I was online checking the tabs on tonight's agenda, because I didn't do it earlier, and I found out that the police had witnessed bribery going on by my security. But those, I will tell you, are not the company I'm using now. I was firing them just because of this report. And I will tell you, commissioners, and the town planner will confirm this. After the event, I'm the one who did reach out to the town. I'm the one, when there was a meeting where the fire marshal talked to me and we sat and went through this, that was a meeting that I asked for. I'm the one who, I've understood, it was impressed upon me last year that my client had burned bridges. And as soon as this event was over, I was trying to have meetings. We finally set one up where I sat down and this was handed to me by Fire Marshal Schroeder. But I've reached out to the chief. The chief, basically, his position was basically, it was fine. Didn't do anything, nothing was on my radar. I understand it. So it was a long-winded way through you, Mr. Chairman, of answering your commissioner. We have new security company who I certainly hope and think, because they are our professional security guards who guard other sites as a professional of their job, will not be easily swayed, as I guess mine were last year. But I'm also more than willing to supplement any police requirement on deployment with an off-duty officer being paid to just sit in Target until people don't walk across the street. I'm happy with that.
One other question. My understanding was that IHOP had some issues. They couldn't get their customers in. I would think that I'd like to see some type of agreement between your operation for that day and IHOP.
If I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
For the record, and I was lucky enough to get a letter from the franchise owner earlier regarding their support of this application, Madam Clerk.
This is from IHOP.
This is from IHOP. This is the owner of the IHOP franchise, and I asked the town planner or any commissioner if you feel free to reach out to Max directly and to ask him about this.
No, I was just concerned. I want to make sure that all the businesses can still function while this is going on, because we're going to have a new business in here, which we have now, Chick-fil-A, which is going to be generating a little bit more traffic than Ruby Tuesdays did before they closed. So that's another concern of mine. I'd also like to, and I'm not trying to give you a hard time, I'd also like to get something from them and Lowe's also, which is another major this. But I think last year you did have something from Lowe's, or the, I can't remember if the
They were fairly happy.
manager came in and testified, but I'd like either something from that, Also, I'd like to have the chief of police and the fire marshal here, or their designees here at the next meeting.
I'm happy to. I've kept a good line of communication since that event, anticipating being here before you. And I knew unless I, took it seriously, you guys wouldn't take me seriously. But I have spoken to people, in real summation, and I know we're going to be together again on this issue, I think. And I have no problem with that. There were some issues. Oh, there's one other major change I've made, actually. There was a defect in design, in my opinion, design of ingress and egress. The ingress and egress were two of the outside versus the inside were in proximity to each other. I've prepared this is a slightly newer design, though it still has the non-existent door. Ingress and egress that was there before last year were pretty close to each other. And what I didn't know about people taking bribes until tonight, but I was concerned that people were kind of sliding between the two areas. Therefore, how this will be done now, how the fencing will be done now, is that if you're going into the restaurant, you can only go into the restaurant over here, next to the building where the overhang is. That's not a sidewalk, that's a covered area. So you have to enter it here. If you go to the outside, you can only enter it over here. That those two things are totally, I tried to put a little block on top. These are not going to have any ability to have crossover. You exit all the way over here, and you have to enter all the way over here. The problem was, I believe, and I think you see it through the narrative of Fire Marshal Schroeder, the problem happened when the outside got closed down. So then people were like, okay, well, now we want to go inside. In that year, last year, all of that control point was right here. I'm moving these things way apart from each other to give a better opportunity to control, and so there's no bleed over. Therefore, trying to avoid over occupancy and the interior. There was no problem, if you read the narrative, there's no problem until around 11 o'clock at night.
Right.
And so what my idea is that if you divorce these two processes, the entrance, exit, the outside and the inside, you're not, where we had them all right here, you're not going to allow any bleed over from one to the other. You control the people. And also I'm hiring professional, real security guards.
Commissioner Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. To the Chairman, Commissioner Sobieski mentioned Chick-fil-A, new business, very particular. You're lucky that they're closed on Sundays.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Don't think I had thought about that.
However, since they're closed, I think it would behoove you to make sure, I think they put the last week since they opened, they have cones in the entrances, and I think that maybe you'd want to talk to their franchisee and figure out a way to keep people from parking there, or sitting in the park a lot, with a couple of brews and.
I don't know if the cops want to see me sitting outside with a couple of brews, but I'm definitely Ubering home, I guess. One of the things that there's a mention in there about that there was the police mentioned, the chief says a lot of people had to be towed from IHOP. And Max, we certainly, Max still does it, isn't it, is for us, not against us. But even with our security guards, and to be quite honest, even with police officers, this is private property. If a person drives up and parks there, and the security guard goes up and goes, I'm sorry, if you're going to Plaza Azteca, you have to leave or you'll be towed. They can also say, swear words to them and keep walking.
Yeah.
Now, the car gets towed. They were given notice. They can't complain about it. But even a police officer on private property couldn't control that. That's only the power to control by Max.
Right.
Only Max has it. And, there's, we can do and we will and did. I mean, we can tell people you can't park there, but if somebody just takes their keys and walks away, then it's on them. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that it's great. We had people out there. I do know certainly that even the people that says, I think there was 12 people towed, they were identified by us and by the security guards saying, yeah, they just walked into Plaza. They got towed. Yeah. That's a problem. If Max was really against it, this would be kind of a different thing. But Max knew we tried to work with him. He's an entrepreneur like the guys who work at Plaza Azteca, and he's in support of it. And as before, I'll definitely say right now, I'll be there between at least 10 and midnight, or 9:30 and midnight, when I think the issue occurs. I'm more than happy to pay for an additional officer over at Target. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question, if I may. But now, getting back to IHOP, I do know, because I happen to stop in there, that the manager and hostess at the time was going nuts. So, but as far as Target's concerned, I don't know. I don't think I'm that satisfied with your plan, for even an off-duty police officer. I mean, are they going to stop people from going in?
Well, see the difference.
And then driving in and parking somewhere. I don't know. and then tell them they can't cross the street if they cross the turnpike?
The reason
How would that work?
The reason I like the idea of using an officer is that, yes, illegally crossing the street is different than parking private property. An officer can say, excuse me, young lady, I'm going to
Okay.
ticket you.
Correct
You know,
me if
and I
I'm
have the
wrong,
police powers to
Right.
regulate,
Yeah.
like you walking with no traffic control
Oh,
device.
yeah,
walking right
okay.
in. And that's why that solution seems to work for me. We did have people stationed on that corner, security guards. And I do know that on a couple occasions, they helped people. They'd already started across, they'd gotten to the island, they were walking towards them, and I was of two minds about, do you help somebody who's, you know, or do you just try to make sure they don't get hit? And in the end, I said to them, you have to do what you think is right for safety at that moment.
Yeah.
It wasn't encouraging these people to come across. They're already halfway across from Target, keeping heading, and I know that some of our security guards tried to help them get across safely. In the end, I came down on the side of do what you think keeps everybody safe, and in the end, as long as no one gets hurt, that's more important than really anything else. But obviously, we weren't encouraging. They were already in Target. They'd already either snuck past, blown off, ignored, or wasn't seen by a security guard over in Target. Then they get across the street, they get halfway, and then you either decide you're going to be a part of the solution or not. And so that's the only reason I thought an officer, because that's a different, you've got somebody doing a misdemeanor. They're crossing the street illegally.
Exactly.
And so that's why I think that solution actually does work, where even an officer in any private parking lot can't control private parking.
Okay, I agree. However, and I think you would agree with me now, I believe now that Chick-fil-A is there, they were not able to open until they built a sidewalk to the curb. And I think that intersection is controlled now?
It's controlled. The problem is there's no flashing crosswalk. So it locks the signal in all four directions where they considered a normal person could make it across the street. But if you've got a crowd of people and that light flips from red to green, these people are going to go take it off. That's why they don't not like, and you'll see it noted on the turnpike where everybody's been killed, where anybody's been killed on a turnpike, there are signs, crossing highway divided is prohibited. So that's my point. You know, you can have as much security as you want there. All right. I think you need a police officer to control that. I think you need a police officer at the corner of, in my opinion, and one at the corner of Willard Avenue or 173 and Berlin Turnpike. And those officers should remain there until the place closes, and that's Plaza Azteca. Whether it's 12 o'clock or whatever, they should be there. Just to make sure that somebody doesn't cross that highway and get whacked. That's my concern here.
Mr. Chairman, I would stipulate that to be a condition of my permit at this time. I have no problem with any of that. I know it's gonna cost me some more money, right? But if anything really did happen, if somebody got hit, I'm not coming back, because why would I? I mean, none of us want that to happen. So I'm more than comfortable with spending more to be safer. Absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the, go ahead. Mr.
I
Frank.
agree with Commissioner Sobieski and Commissioner Fox. Sorry. I thought my voice was loud enough. I agree with Commissioner Fox and Commissioner Sobieski because it's really important for safety's sake that there be an assurance that people are not doing the wrong thing. And I really appreciate you saying that you'll hire an extra policeman or whatever. Maybe two are necessary. I don't know. But it's critically important that, for the sake of safety, that the people that are going there, who could be somewhat impaired by some kind of adult beverage, who knows, but still, it's critically important that their safety be concerned.
Commissioner Braverman, I, again, through you, Mr. Chairman, agree and will accept such, requirements as a condition of approval. I understand that, to my client, this is an important cultural, economic, event, but in the end, it's got to be comfortable for everybody. And the police have a schedule for being in the parking lot and how many officers they use, and I'm more than willing to say, okay, that's one thing, and then the other thing is the idea of the crossing issue, and we will supplement it as they see fit. I'm 100% comfortable with that.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to the public and then.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think.
Thank you,
Talk
Commissioners.
about how we're moving forward. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this application? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition? Mr. Planner, Mr. Sobieski had requested that people.
I request that the chief of police and/or his designee and the fire marshal and/or his designee be at our next meeting.
Well, do we need to have, well, let me throw this out. Do we need to keep the hearing open? Is there information that you don't already have that you need from the chief? Because there's an email from the chief in here, from both chiefs. There's things in the package. Do you have other questions that aren't answered by what was in the agenda packet?
My question is, I want to know, all right, to make sure that the chief is comfortable with having enough manpower up there to have an officer sit at Target, have an officer at Willard and the Berlin Turnpike, and how many officers does he need inside there? I don't want to see the districts get drained like they did a couple of years ago, where they have to go down there and handle crowd control. So I'd like to have the chief come in here, and I see his memo here, or his designee, and I would like both the fire chief to come in here and say and tell us that. I want to have them review that plan because, like I said, right now that plan to me, even though Attorney Kennelly says this is not right and that's not right, I want to see a plan that's correct. Maybe I'm wrong, but I mean, I would like to see one where the generator actually sits, where that door is actually closed, so we can say, okay, if something happens, this is the plan we were given.
Okay, so we're going to, Mr. Fox.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If we do close the hearing tonight, and
Well, no, I don't think we should.
Yeah.
Because that information should be on the record, and the applicant should
Yeah,
have the
sounds
opportunity to
good.
rebut whatever the chiefs want to say. So we should keep the hearing open then.
because
Yeah.
I didn't, I'm glad we are going to keep it open because there are a couple other things that have been coming to mind, but, it's getting too late. We can do it, I guess we can do another time, and then, if we have to, put it right on old business next time.
Okay, so we're going to.
Okay, but I have, if this petition is approved for for the additional outdoor seating, is there going to be annual constraint, biannual, or whatever? Or once we allow the business to have the outdoor seating, is that it?
No,
And
they
if
gotta
that's
come
it,
every year. They have to come every year.
okay,
because of-
yeah, I know, but
because of the
we did that when we were talking about the the festival itself, the event, but now we're talking about outdoor seating. So-
Well, it was always the outdoor seating that you were approving. The outdoor seating is so that they can have the event, but you're not approving an event, you are approving or prohibiting outdoor seating.
Right.
And as the chairman said, it'll
So
be
we can
for
still put a
1
time
year.
limit on it. Okay,
Well,
thank
this will be a
you.
one-time, right.
Thank you.
If I may just respond for a moment.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have spoken to through you, Mr. Chairman, to Commissioner, to Commissioner Sobieski. I have spoken numerous times before this event, after this event, to both the fire marshal and the police chief, and so I'm 100% comfortable with having them here and talking to them about this. But I would like the record to reflect, there was an intimation that last year there was any problem. I think the document speaks for itself when it's the police chief's report at the town planner's request saying, and I want this clear on the record tonight's hearing, there was absolutely not one problem.
If I may, Chairman, Mr. Chairman, it wasn't last year, I think it was the year before, when we first started, this, when we hired that private security company with ex-military. And that's my point. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page here.
And through you, Mr. Chairman, I'm very familiar with the what happened 2 years ago, because I had to deal with the fallout of it right here in this room. But there were only 2 calls 2 years ago. There was 2 calls 2 years ago, both initiated by my client for the removal of people who were causing disturbance. So I understand the crossing of the street. I think that's our biggest problem here, and that's the fear that most of us have, and I totally understand it, and I will work in every reasonable manner to address it. But to characterize this thing as causing some sort of drain on the police resources or affecting any police resources, it's just not what the document says, what the chief has said to me, what the chief has said to Craig, and I just want that to be clear.
Okay, we're going to end this now and continue the hearing till the next meeting.
Just a point of clarification, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Sobieski also raised the point that there was errors and misinformation on the document I submitted subsequent to my initial application. If the record is being left open, will the applicant be allowed the opportunity to find somebody who's much better at computers and knows how to erase stuff and add stuff and can probably in their 20s and knows how to actually make this map look like it should?
Yes, and please do that quickly, because that's the map then that I want to send to the emergency services people for them to review as requested by the commission.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to you, Town Planner, I'll try to have it to you by the end of this week. Just have to find a 20-year-old.
All right, we're all set. We're going to continue this hearing till the next
By a
meeting.
teenager.
Next
It's
item.
even better.
What's the,
Thank you, Commissioners.
next item is
Thank you
approval
for
of
your
minutes,
patience.
March 13th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any corrections, additions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? New business, Holmes Road. You want to read the petition 0619?
Petition 0619, site plan modification at 94 Holmes Road, 94 Holmes Road LLC. Owner applicant James P. Cassidy, PE 630 Main Street, Cromwell, Connecticut.
Okay, the applicant's here. We've gone through this a couple of times already, so.
This is TBC presentation.
Okay.
This is the second time you're here, so we're pretty familiar with it, so give us an overview.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Jim Cassidy. I'm a professional engineer and principal with the firm of Halsey, Pearson, and Cassidy. The one thing I just want to clarify on the application, it keeps getting read in as James Cassidy, owner applicant. I represent the owner, who is 94 Holmes Road LLC. So I just want to make sure that that is clear. I'm their agent as the applicant. Craig, can you scroll to the next slide? As was mentioned, I was here 2 weeks ago, which time we did a preliminary presentation of this application. Just a brief overview. The site itself is 1.46 acres of industrial zone land located at 94 Holmes Road. There is an existing building on the site. The first slide you see up here is an existing site photo. The area outlined in yellow is the property, being the 1.46 acres. It is located about 3/4 of the way down Holmes Road. It is on the north side of the road. It does contain an existing building with a footprint of about 16,000 square feet, presently office and warehouse use. There is parking to the front, to south, and to the east for a total of 44 spaces. Craig, if you can go to the next photo. What we're simply proposing to do is on the east side of the building, there's an existing truck turnout area that serves some overhead doors. We're looking at removing that truck turnout area and doing an expansion to the building consisting of slightly over 10,000, actually 10,134 square feet. That area was specifically used as warehouse. That area is going to be specifically used as warehousing. John Michaels Associates who presently is in the building, is a distributor of custom sports apparel. And they have a new client where they need an additional 10,000 square feet of space. We are going to be reducing the number of parking spaces. The darker gray area to the front is the existing park area. There is an area off to the east that we're going to be eliminating pavement. We're going to go from 44 down to 36 spaces. But we find, per the owner of the operation, that that's going to be more than adequate. If you were actually to look back at the prior slide, you would notice, if you take a look at their parking lot, which is where this photo is taken in the middle of the day, they're actually only utilizing about half the parking spaces right now for a total of about 22. So they feel, even with additional employees, the additional parking, or the 36 parking spaces, would be more than adequate. At the last meeting, the question came up. We needed to clarify whether the loading dock doors could face towards Holmes Road. The commission made a determination that that was appropriate, seeing the building itself was set some 75 feet back from the face of the existing building. Since such time, since that meeting, we had received staff comments. We have gone through and revised and resubmitted plans based upon those comments. I'm not going to go through all of the individual comments, but I'm going to say from the town engineer's comments, a lot of them are minor technical items that we needed to address on the plans, and they have been incorporated at this point. The other thing that was requested, Craig, if you can go forward a couple slides, was that we submit a building elevation as part of our a building elevation as part of our package. Again, the gray area to the left-hand side of the page is the existing building. The area to the right-hand side is a new addition. This area is set more than 75 feet back from the face of the building. It will have 3 loading dock doors on it. The material itself is going to be a split-face concrete block. In addition to, there's going to be a vertical metal siding portion on the upper portion of this building. Craig, if you can just go one more photo forward. The colors of the building are tended to match the existing. This is a photo along the face of the existing building. It's a lighter gray color. Then the metal panel is also a lighter gray. So it's going to be a similar color to what's presently out there. Craig, can you go back 2 photos? That's the side of the building that's the addition's going on. Go back one more photo. Also, as part of the town planner comment, there was a recommendation that we submit a landscaping plan. I think, as I represented previously, there's a sufficient amount of landscaping along the front of this building, consisting of a series of evergreen shrubs. In addition to, there's a bunch of paper bark birch along the facade of the building, and then some lower shrubs all within that green area. All that landscaping is remaining. In addition to, between the front of the parking area and the roadway, there's a series of, at this point, larger diameter canopy trees. They appear to be 10-inch maples. All those trees are also remaining. The only thing that's going to be added for landscaping is where we have the gray area for the loading. We're incorporating 2 new islands. We're going to put additional birches within those islands, and also some lower arborvitae bushes on the lower portion. So that's going to be the new landscaping that's going to be out there. In addition to, per the town planner's comments, that we needed to identify possible snow storage areas. The areas along the front and along the west side, or the upper portion, are the areas that we identified as possible snow storage areas. It should be noted that the actual impervious coverage for pavement is actually going to be about 7,000 square feet less than presently is out there. The overall will be slightly more because of the addition area. We'll be having an increase of overall impervious coverage of about 4,000 square feet. That increase in impervious coverage is the runoff from that will be handled by a bioretention swale that's being constructed along the rear of the property, or the north side of the property, the rear of the building. It's also important to note that whereas right now that turnout area is visible from the residents in the Fenwick subdivision or development to the north, that'll be now screened by the entire addition, so all the operations would be screened by the addition. There were other comments from the town planner that we've also addressed and hopefully incorporated into the plan. The only one I don't think we've kind of really explained well is, if you were to take a look at the site today, for trash removal, you'll find that they have 2 dumpsters presently within the turnout area. And you'll see on this plan, we're not proposing any dumpsters. What we probably should note on the final plan to be submitted is actually what John Michaels' associates is looking at doing, is they're going to go to a bailing system. What happens with the bailing system is you actually have a baler inside the building. Because they are in a distribution business, most of the product comes in box. So they have a baler inside the building, everything gets compacted inside the building, held in bales, and then they have a specialized company that comes in and picks up the compacted bales, takes them out on a weekly basis. Therefore, we're not going to have the need for those dumpsters outside. For other type of waste, such as food waste, for the employees, they would have a couple rollout cans that a service would come in and pick up on a weekly basis also. But we're going to this bailing system. It actually financially works out better for them because they actually get reimbursed for the cardboard that they sell back to the hauling company. So with that, I'm going to hopefully be short tonight. I'll conclude my presentation, and I'll gladly answer any questions you may have.
Any comments from the planner?
No, he covered
All
them.
of our concerns?
Yep.
Okay, engineering-wise?
Well, what Mr. Cassidy said is that he has addressed the town engineer's comments in the latest plans, which were submitted a week ago, I think.
We were waiting for a determination on the loading dock doors. So once we had that, we made the revisions to the plan.
Okay. Any questions? Yes.
When you get a truck coming in, it's gonna pull in here.
It's going to have to pull in there,
Yep.
and then it's going to have to back up. They're
Have a blind spot right here,
correct.
but now you're gonna put trees there. So when he goes to turn and jack it into here, it's gonna be.
He's going to have to utilize a couple of those spaces to make that maneuver.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, we realize. And quite honestly, I've been taking a look at
That is a problem, right there.
the island itself.
Actually, that's where your rear wheels of your trailer wanna be, to make it into this spot,
Yeah,
okay? That's what I do.
sure.
So, I know the yard pretty well, I've plowed it for 30 years, so. Do you have to put that?
No,
Green there?
we can eliminate. We're actually increasing landscaping by putting that
Why
in.
don't you make an adjustment so that you get a
I'd hate to
you get a
see-
clean shot there with a truck?
Sure.
Because most guys can't back up.
Mhm.
So,
Are you good with that?
That's fine.
Okay, so make that change on the
Make that in the
plan
final plans.
before
sure.
I sign it.
Sure, not a problem.
Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, what do you want to
looks
do?
great.
Want
Thank you.
to move it for tonight?
Yep.
Huh? You got an application?
Move we close the hearing and move to old business for tonight.
Okay, we're going to move it to old business and act on it tonight,
Thank you.
okay? That takes care of, no. Yeah, that takes care of new business because Alan
Right.
already did the site plan modification part of his,
And I have nothing new to report on Newington Ridge.
we're into old business.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. I think we need a vote on moving it to old business.
Okay, go ahead.
No, we need a vote.
Oh, we didn't vote. All in favor of moving it to old business?
Aye.
We have to-
Okay, now we're into old business. A is out, O'Reilly. Now, so we have the petition 0919.
Right, I think there are draft motions for everything that you sound like you're ready to do. That was in the folder when you came in tonight.
Okay, go ahead with the,
Yep.
who has it?
We got it. Do the one we just had first.
No, we're gonna do, Bon Giovanni's.
Petition 09-19, special permit, section 3.2.8, group daycare homes and child care centers and adult daycare centers, 395 Willard Avenue, Colchester Properties LLC applicant, 395 Willard LLC owner, Eric Spungen, 56 East Main Street, Avon, Connecticut, contact. I move to approve petition 09-19, special permit 3.2.8, group daycare homes and child care centers and adult daycare centers at 395 Willard Avenue, Colchester Properties LLC applicant, 395 Willard LLC owner, Eric Spungen, 56 East Main Street, Avon, Connecticut, contact. Conditions, none.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is approved. Is there another portion to that?
Yes, the site plan that goes with it.
There's another, okay,
That's
you want to do that one too?
08-19.
Petition 08-19, site plan modification at 395 Willard Avenue, Colchester Properties LLC, applicant 395 Willard LLC owner, Eric Spungen, 56 East Main Street, Avon, Connecticut, contact. I move to approve with conditions petition 08-19, site plan modifications at 395 Willard Avenue, Colchester Properties LLC, applicant 395 Willard LLC owner, Eric Spungen, 56 Main Street, East Main Street, Avon, Connecticut, contact. Conditions. The applicant shall revise the plans to satisfy the town engineer's comments dated March 8th, 2019.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Do, the Kiwanis.
Petition 10-19, special permit, section 3.2.7, charitable, religious, social, and civic events at municipal parking lot. Big K Flea Market, Kiwanis Club of Newington, applicant, Town of Newington owner, Daniel Henry, 140 Fisk Drive, Newington, Connecticut, contact. I move to approve petition 10-19, special permit, section 3.2.7, charitable, religious, social, and civic events at the municipal parking lot. Big K Flea Market, Kiwanis Club of Newington, applicant, Town of Newington owner, Daniel Henry, 140 Fisk Drive, Newington, Connecticut, contact. Conditions, none.
Could I suggest we make one condition that it'd be for 5 years, because otherwise that's not in the record anywhere? Okay.
Condition number one, make it a 5-year special permit.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any questions? Any comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you want to do Holmes Road. Make sure you read with the correct applicant, if it's not on there.
Is it the correct
Yeah, I'm not sure what Mr. Cassidy was,
Yeah.
Well, he's not the owner.
it doesn't say that. The owner is 94 Holmes Road LLC, and James Cassidy is the contact.
He's the owner applicant contact.
No, 94 Holmes Road LLC is the owner or applicant.
Okay, read it.
Petition 06-19, site plan modification at 94 Holmes Road, LLC, owner applicant James P. Cassidy, PE 630 Main Street, Cromwell, Connecticut, contact.
Okay.
I move to approve with conditions petition 06-19, site plan modification at 94 Holmes Road, LLC, owner applicant James P. Cassidy, PE 630 Main Street, Cromwell, Connecticut. Conditions. The applicant shall revise the plans to satisfy the town engineer's comments dated February 19, 2019.
And
2, the applicant shall revise the plans to satisfy the town planner's comments dated February 4, 2019.
and
Second.
change of the.
Lose the
change-
tree.
Change of the plan.
And the change in the plan
To delete the tree.
to delete the tree.
Right.
Forgot about the tree.
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
You did a very good job on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
That ends the old business
Church.
portion. The church,
That's next week.
next
That's the
meeting,
next meeting.
we're doing the church so that the planner could write a strong and approval, so that we make sure that it's strictly for residents.
Right.
Exactly opposite of what they proposed, which is good.
Yeah, I think if our discussion, which started months ago, had
Yeah, probably
been
would
what
not
they said
come in.
tonight, I probably wouldn't have told them to come in. But I think it is still good because now it's on the record what they said. There will be a document giving them permission to do this under certain conditions. The neighborhood had a chance to to express their concern. So I think it was good that it went through this process.
Yeah, and I believe there's some, don't forget the fence around the property.
Right.
And there's some conditions that you're gonna have to put on there.
Right.
Okay. Petitions for scheduling, is there anything?
None.
Town planners report, POCD consultant selection. I'm ready to move that if you have recommendations from the subcommittee and yourself.
Right, and it's in the memo.
You have you got something in?
It's in my memo, the last paragraph. I move to approve.
Got it?
Are you looking at my memo dated March 21st? It's the next to the last page in the agenda packet. It was in the packet that you were mailed. Yeah, it's the next to the last page of the whole packet.
Got that.
There you are. It's the,
Okay.
yeah.
I move to approve the selection of planning metrics to assist the TPZ with updating the 2020 Plan of Conservation and Development, and to direct the town staff to negotiate with Polymetrics a fee that is within the budget previously approved by the town.
Second.
Motion made. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so you're all set, so do
Good.
what you have to do.
Get moving. Yes, good.
Okay, and then, next item is, the moratorium.
Right, at the last meeting, the commission asked me to give them some more detail about how this affordable housing moratorium process works and what the status of the application that I've been working on. The status is the same as 2 weeks ago. I haven't made any further progress with it, but this memo explains what the process is, and I'd be happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Any questions on this moratorium?
At the moment,
What was the concern that they had?
because I went through the council, or the town planner, and the town manager.
Michael, can you move the mic, please?
The town manager asked Craig to look into this, and we didn't know about it. That was the problem.
And then was the council aware of what's going on?
Well,
No, well,
You want to come up, Gail, and give us what your take is on this? I just want to make sure we're doing this the right way.
From initially, apparently, there were some very informal discussions, but there was never a real formal presentation or a vote taken. However, at this last week's town council meeting, the town manager did explain to us the process and the rationale of what was going on. So the town council has been informed that at this stage, I believe the town planner is gathering information to see whether we would even be eligible for such a moratorium.
well, we are eligible. The requirements to be eligible are minimal. They're complicated, but minimal. However, because the actual decision is at the Commissioner of Housing's discretion, it's whether he chooses to grant the moratorium or not, there's no way of knowing until we submit it. But we are eligible. We have enough points to be eligible to apply for the moratorium.
Well, the town manager said that that's what you were working on, is whether we would even be eligible or whatever, but she did assure us that that it would be the council's determination on whether to accept or
Whether to
reject.
submit it or not.
This is a council decision whether to have a moratorium or not.
Right.
Okay, so this is outside the purview of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission?
Well, not necessarily. That the decision has been made that it will be the council that submits this or not. But part of the process involves possibly a public hearing if the town asks for a hearing. And the hearing could be conducted by the law, either by TPZ or the council. So if we get to that point, and we probably will, I suspect there will be at least 25 people in Newington who don't think we should do this, who will insist on a public hearing. At that point, it'd be up to the corner office to decide who gets to run that hearing, whether it's to be run by the TPZ or by the town council. So there might still be a chance for you to have some role in the decision whether to submit the application.
We had a public hearing ourselves.
Newington's never done this before.
Well, no, but we had a moratorium on TOD.
Yeah, but those were generated by the town planner zoning commission.
Right, those
We're
were
not
zoning
generating this.
regulations. This is something that goes above and beyond the zoning
Only
regulations.
question that I have is that the moratorium, to have the moratorium, we should have a plan in place as to why you want to have a 3-year moratorium on this. There has to be a plan or something. You just can't say, well, we just don't want it because we're against the low-income housing. You need to have a reason and a plan as to how you're going to meet or what you're trying to accomplish by having a moratorium. Is that part of the process that you're going through?
Yes.
Okay.
And again, at the council level, we haven't even really had a discussion yet. We were informed of what was the process, but in terms of, we haven't had a roundtable discussion on it. But those are the type of questions that, would come
We'll
up.
just make them aware that it's more than just him looking at it at this point.
Well, it's probably analogous to a grant application. I'm the staff. I've been directed to prepare a grant application. Whether it gets submitted or not is up to the town council.
Okay, so just make them aware that that's how he's proceeding. Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Mr. Planner, for clarification. Anything else?
That's all I have.
Communications.
Had the CROG meeting last Thursday. Basically, not too much has come up. We just had an election of officers. I was on a nominating committee there, and now I'm going to be on a bylaws committee because we have an issue there that technically everybody on the commission gets appointed every year from the planning and zoning. However, the bylaws say that if you're elected chairperson or vice chairperson, you serve for 2 years. So, Craig, I'm trying to do this with a straight face.
Yeah.
So,
A little discrepancy
question
there.
comes down, let's assume somebody's a chairman and they don't get reappointed.
In their hometown.
Then we have to start all over again, right? So that's something we're looking at.
I think you got the year because the election is coming fall.
Right. Every year you're appointed by the commission.
It used to be 2 years. It was 2 years the last time you did this.
No, it's always every year.
So, it was always every year.
What you're referring to is
At the first meeting.
the first meeting you and I went to. Sandra, I forgot what her last name was. She had been appointed for 2 years.
Right.
Because Hartford automatically put her in every couple of years, so.
Okay. Any other communications from commissioners? No. Public participation, anyone? No. Marks by commissioners.
Move we adjourn.
All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. So you got a little work to do for the next meeting, Mr. Planner.